Paris, France is known as the city of love by many, but what else do you know about it? Paris is known worldwide as a popular tourist destination, but not many people know about the significance of its historical landmarks that make it so popular. Understanding and learning about the history of famous landmarks is vital because they teach us about the history of humans and our evolution through art and architecture. Along with personally having visited Paris and saw some of these landmarks, I researched this topic through books, academic journals, newspapers, and peer-reviewed articles that I found from the FGC library. Today, I'm going to discuss a brief history of Paris, France, the history and significance of the Eiffel Tower, the Notre Dame is a religious and historical landmark that has a long history, and finally, the history of the Paris catacombs. Let's begin. According to the book France and the New World, A New Global History, France was founded in 843 AD. Paris was later established as France's capital. In the book, it states in 511 an alliance was created between the King of the Franks and the bishops. This created Paris as its capital. The official establishment of France as a country was in 987. The book also states that France faced many difficulties over the years that were significant to its history, such as the 100 Years' War in 1337 to 1453 and the French Revolution in 1789. Now that we've learned a little bit about Paris and its history, let's discuss the Eiffel Tower and its significance. According to the article, The Symbol of Paris, Writing the Eiffel Tower, from its construction until the present, Eiffel Tower is the foremost universal symbol of Paris and France. Its impact on contemporary culture, art, and literature through many references is a reason it's so important today. The article also discusses its history. Gustave Eiffel was a successful iron engineer, and he submitted a plan for the tower to a competition in 1884. There was over 100 submissions, and finally his was chosen in June of 1886. The Eiffel Tower was completed in 1889. It stands at 330 meters, weighs over 10,000 tons, and has 3 floors. Whether we climb it, look at it, or just read about it, we love the tower, or at the very least, we love what it symbolizes, whatever that may be. We might not be familiar with its architectural details or its history, but it is a reminder of all things French and Parisian. The tower has a unifying attractiveness for people all over the world. Another significant monument in Paris, just like the Eiffel Tower, is Notre Dame. According to the book Notre Dame de Paris, it states, the building we know today is not the original one, by Maurice de Sully. The reconstruction of the original structure was during the 1250s. Meanwhile, the original was in 1163. In the 1250s, Jean de Chevreuse was in charge of redesigning the new version. He completed the northern arm, but not the southern one. That one was completed after his death in 1258 by his successor, Pierre de Montreal. The rest of the cathedral was completed in 1345, and it took nearly 200 years to rebuild it. Then tragedy struck in 2019. According to the newspaper article, What It's Like Now inside the beloved Notre Dame de Paris Cathedral, it states, millions watched on television horror on April 15, 2019 as Notre Dame went up in flames, which is one of the world's oldest and most celebrated cathedrals. But today, more than 5 years later, visitors once more pour into its sanctuary, eager to see how the 1 billion restoration work has progressed. The French government made the decision in 2019 to rebuild the cathedral as it was before the fire and vowed to do it within 5 years. There are some changes to the cathedral now that are different from the original designs. There's a modern bronze main altar, baptismal front and lectern. The medieval rose windows that were created in the 13th century survived the fire, and as well as the ancient 8,000 pipe organ. Some relics were also saved from the fire, such as the remnants of the Holy Crown of Thorns, and a piece of the cross and a nail from the cross that was used in the crucifixion. The Notre Dame is so significant because of its historical and religious importance. Maurice de Sully had the cathedral designed to accommodate for the growing Paris population and the influx of pilgrims traveling. For centuries, it has been a central site for Christian worship in Paris, drawing tourists of all different backgrounds, from the French Gothic of the Notre Dame to the undergrounds of Paris, the Paris catacombs. According to the article, the Paris catacombs remain remnants and reunion beneath the post-revolutionary city. It states the Paris catacombs are a network of subterranean tunnels, carefully lined with human bones, with signs and placards labeled throughout to guide visitors through the macabre historical space. With the exception of electrical lighting, the catacombs have gone relatively unmodified since the opening to the public in 1809. The article states the 19th century truly began when Parisian city workers transported the first collection of bones to the new underground ossuary. This was a hygienic solution to the overflowing of church graveyards. However, the opening of the catacombs to the public in 1809 defeated the purpose of them by creating a monument out of the space. 18th century engineers designed the catacombs as a solution to two problems: the structural instability of the quarries that lay beneath Paris and the lack of burial spaces throughout the city. The cemetery problem was an issue for decades, and there were many complaints by reformers who wanted to update and improve Paris's early modern burial culture. By the 1770s, the hollowing out of Paris underground to mine building materials started to take its toll, and streets began collapsing. The most famous count of this was an 84-foot sinkhole that appeared near the Saint Michel barrier in 1774. Critics about the long-standing practice of burying the dead in mass graves in churchyards were saying that it was unhygienic and possibly lethal to the living population. This was from many accounts that the dead are thickening the air and that they were a source of mysterious illnesses affecting the Parisian people. The catacombs are such an interesting part of Paris's history and such a monumental part of not only the city structure, but about the people who live there. Paris has many significant historical landmarks, and each is so important and special in their own way. Paris, France is such a popular and unique place with its many tourist destinations and sights to see. It also houses many significant historical landmarks that make it so popular. Today we have gone over 4 main points: a brief history of Paris, the history and significance of the Eiffel Tower, the Notre Dame is a religious and historical landmark that has a long history, and finally the history of the Paris catacombs. The next time you are planning a trip to Paris, maybe consider paying these landmarks a visit and think about what I've said today as you look at them and remember their history. Thank you.